I got some weeds. Huh. Let's see who gets in here. Huh. It looks like hey, what's going on, James? I just decided to do a stream about some weeds because I got a little bit of time and I got a lot of weeds. I think it was, yes, very good. That's actually Plantago major. And talk about major, look how big this thing is. I have very large hands. And that thing's bigger, way bigger than my hand. Look at the stem and everything. But yes, this is Plantago major gargantuous. It's actually bigger than some of the leaves. Or I'll tell you what, I'll grab a hosta leaf. It's bigger than a hosta leaf. Although I do have hosta leaves that are bigger, but yeah, that's just an average size leaf from a hosta. But I can't believe that it took me almost my whole life. I didn't even know what these plants were. I just knew they were kind of a gnarly looking weed that would grow in lawns that weren't sprayed. Oh, I'm living the dream, man. How are you? Yeah, when I got put in a situation once where I was injured pretty bad from a bad fall, and everything was in place. I just had, my bones were in place, but I had tendons and ligaments and cartilage damage from the fall. And I knew that doctors wanted to do surgery, so that's actually the thing that led me. Oh, good to hear that. Good to read that. The seed can be used. Oh yeah, the seeds are actually loaded with all kinds of good stuff. I usually try to let them grow to seed, except for I have a lot of Plantago lanceolata, which is the narrow leaf plantain, throughout my lawn, and I just cut it down because it's my lawn and I'm trying to keep the ticks down. But anyway, when I first found out about this, I started studying natural remedies, and that's how I actually came to overcome my injuries. And I was pretty amazed. Let me see how many there are. There's always an odd number of main veins through this. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Sometimes there's 3 on the smaller ones. Sometimes there's 5. Sometimes I've seen as many as 9. But when I first learned about this, I was reading in this book called Free Food and Medicine by Marcus Rothkranz, and I learned that this is I got to watch what I say. It's traditionally been used as a neutralizer of toxins and poisons. And this is a very large leaf. You would only need about 1/4 of it or less to chew it up. And this has always been what was always used as a main first aid all throughout history. It's astringent, which means it contracts the blood vessels. It stops bleeding. It's antiseptic. It is a neutralizer of toxins and poisons. If you get a bee sting, you just go to a yard that's not sprayed with weeds. Here's a cool thing about this plant too, though, is this plant is very, very sensitive to herbicides. Anyone that sprays their lawn for weeds, this is the first one to disappear. This goes quickly. It's not tolerant to herbicides or at all. So when people spray their lawns for weeds, there may be some weeds in their lawn that are tolerant and they sustain through the toxic onslaught, but this stuff does not. And so I taught my sons years ago, whenever you're going to do any foraging, look for plantain. If there's plantain in the area, then it has not been sprayed. But if there's no plantain, it's probably been sprayed for weeds, and there's a chance that you could be getting some, toxins. They were not calling for rain, and I just felt a couple of drops. I don't know if it's going to rain or not. Let me see. Gave my dad a tea for his scalded bladder. Oh, scalded bladder radiation treatment. He was pissing blood and it cured him quickly. Awesome, dude. Yeah, so this is this is an amazing plant. When I first learned about it, I learned about its benefits of food. It's got a lot of vitamins and nutrients that are good. And you can eat it raw. It's kind of bitter. After about 6 or 7 of them, they start not tasting very good. Cooked, they taste better because you actually remove the tannins out of the plant. But I started eating it about 5 to 7 leaves a day, just eating, not this big. I was eating about 5 to 7 leaves that were, like maybe this size, per day. And anyway, I didn't realize that this stuff is very good for prostate. And I was in my late 30s, and I started to experience waking up 3, 4, and sometimes, a rare occasion, 5 times through the night because my prostate was enlarged, as it happens with men, especially men with high levels of testosterone. And so I started eating these, and after about a week and a half to 2 weeks, I was sleeping through the whole night. Which kind of amazed me, and I'm like, what's different? Why am I now all of a sudden? I actually was on I used to not set my alarm at night. I go to sleep and I would just wake up 3, 4 times through the night usually, and if I wake up at 1:30, I'd say, I don't need to stay up. I'll go back to sleep. Wake up again at 3. Yeah, I can sleep a little longer. Wake up at 4:30. Okay, I'll stay up now, kind of a thing. And it was like overnight, I just slept through the nights. Didn't set an alarm because I never needed one since my prostate had enlarged. And I was late for work. I was like, what's going on? So then I learned that this is actually really good for the prostate, not just for reducing inflammation, but for everything dealing with the health of the prostate. So I put it to the test, and I drank a quart of water before I went to bed, and I slept 7 hours. I peed like a racehorse when I got up, but it really did help. And so I haven't really been taking much of this stuff. I should, because I'm starting to get up once through the night. And that's just a recent thing, but I've been sleeping through the night ever since. And then I had a friend of mine, we were driving, and he got stung by a bee. While we were driving, a bee entered into the vehicle through the window or something, and got him in the neck, and he's like, ow! And I said, what happened? And he says, I got stung by a bee. So I pulled over. We were in a small town up in Michigan. I pulled over onto the side of the road and jumped out of the vehicle, and I found some plantain in somebody's yard. Picked a couple of leaves and said, here, chew it. I want to test it on you, man, because I heard it's a neutralizer of toxins and poisons. And sure enough, he chewed it, he put it on there, and the stinging went away within seconds. 5 to 10 seconds, the stinging went away. He didn't have any problems. And then that year, I got to put it to the test because I got stung. And I actually got stung by ground hornets, and those have a much harsher sting. I think maybe it was a yellow jacket or something that stung him, which is actually a hornet, but he got stung. Hold on a second, let me read this. Yeah, I knew what you meant. Good call. Insects, snakes, spiders. Yes, dude, I had a brown recluse spider bite that I used this stuff on, and it stopped the spreading of that, whatever it is that's causing death in the tissue. It keeps spreading and spreading, and mine was spreading for 2 or 3 days. And once I put that plantain poultice on it, I just chewed up a bunch of stuff and stuck it to it and just held it against there. And I think I might even put a bandage on it to do it overnight, but then it was done. It started healing up from that point, but I did get a scar from it. Oh. Yeah, dude, I highly recommend it. So what I did with this was I actually dried a whole bunch out in the dehydrator, and then I ground it up into a powder, just crushed the leaves with my hands. And then I had it in a stainless steel bowl, and I just kept grinding and grinding and grinding. And then I took a sieve and I sifted it through a really fine screen. Wow, the winds are getting strong now. I don't know if it's hitting the microphone. But, so I made plantain powder, basically. All the stuff that sifted through the fine screen, I gave some to a friend of mine who's a truck driver, and he was having the same problems. And it fixed his prostate issues, and gave it to somebody else, and it fixed their prostate issues. That guy was older. He was like 65, and he'd been having prostate issues for 30 years. It took him about 2 to 3 months before he was able to sleep through the night. But it did work. And I've given it to people that had bladder, urinary tract infections. It clears those up right away. I got a really cool story. But plantain, it's one of my favorites. It's definitely it should be the go-to for first aid for anybody. And it's got a lot of other really good benefits. And when you get one this big, you can also use it to wipe your bum. But I don't commonly see plantain this large. I mean, that's a big plant, dude. That's a big plant. To give you an idea, there's my foot next to it. That's a big plant. I got a size 13 boot. Those are big. Those leaves are 12 inches, 10 to 12 inches or more. Anyway, and these seed stems are huge. Look at those things. Is there still flowers on this one? Here's some flowers. Super, super tiny flowers. Is it going to pick them up or no? Probably not. Oh, it's not going to zoom in on the... Maybe I hold it still. We're getting winds. Really, really tiny white flowers. But yeah, it's a really good plant. The plant is a miracle plant. More people need to know about this one. Don't mistake it for hostas, though. I think that's one of the only lookalikes you'll find for Plantago major is a hosta. And they actually make a plantain hybrid that looks kind of like a hosta with it multicolor. It's genetically modified and probably something. It's ornamental. I would not be interested in that. I'm a wild harvester. I like to harvest things in the wild. Here's my mess from my shingles. I had to do some roof repairs this last week. Fun stuff. But anyway, banned from heaven. Oh yeah, that's not what that is. Anyway, yeah, those are big plants of plantain. And here's the one that, I think they're big over here because they're closer to the house and there's a lot more leaf litter from the oak leaves, and they have a really good high acidic soil here. And they just keep springing up. But then these other ones, like there and there, those are, oh wait, that might not even be plantain, is it? Yeah, that's plantain. Yeah. And so, yeah, that's, I don't know if it's a different kind or if it's just not getting the same nutrients, but that's not very big. That's smaller than my fingertips, my fingers. And then of course the clover, the delicious clover flower. But there's a plant I just found out about. It's called the wild sensitive, and I hope that this isn't going to be too windy. Let me know if the wind is bothering you. Oh, on my way there, I want to see this one. Is one I mentioned in my description. This is wild Lactuca canadensis. This is actually the common one in North America. Canadensis is because it's common in Canada. This has a really cool feature. Let's see if I can get it to focus. If you slice it, it bleeds out this. Come on, focus. There it is. Hold on a second. I should have grabbed my tripod. Let's do this. But the canadensis, it bleeds out. Here we go. Let's see if we can get this. There we go. Get some good blood dripping there. It bleeds out or lactates. That's where the word lactuca comes from, and that is in the lettuce family. And so that sap, that it's like a latex, kind of a latex lactuca. I got some sap on my blade. Putting it on my pants. It'll dry. But anyway, that sap I extract with dehydrating the leaves and then doing an alcohol extraction. I don't know if you can hear me. Hey, mesmerizer. What's going on? Yes, that is wild lettuce. This is the variety that is more common in North America, and it actually doesn't have as much condensed compounds in the latex sap as Lactuca cereola, which is a little more potent as far as a painkiller, a pain reliever, and it's also a very good sedative. It's not, I wouldn't call it a strong sedative, I call it a mild sedative, but anyone that's got problems sleeping can take some wild lettuce tincture in with a little bit of juice, and that stuff's good. Okay, so this is probably a second year or a third year milkweed. A lot of people are, because it doesn't have flowers yet. It takes a few years before it starts getting flowers. These are the flower pods of the flowers of the milkweed. And the milkweed plants, the early shoots, when they're under 6 or 8 inches, are edible. I've never eaten them. But I have eaten the flower pods before they open up into flowers. When they're just the buds, I boil them, do a parboil, and then you can fry them, dip them in some kind of like an egg wash and then breadcrumbs or something, and fry them. They taste really good. The cool plant that I just found recently. In fact, the wind might have already affected it. It's called the wild sensitive, and it's very sensitive to being touched. When it's touched or shaken, which is what the wind is doing right now, all the leaves fold up. And huh. Oh. Well, this is weird because I just had a whole bunch of them over here and I'm not seeing them. Oh, yeah, they're folding up now. Darn it. I was hoping I'd find some that weren't folded up. All these leaves, see how they're folded up now? Before yeah, it's the wind shaking them. That's why I couldn't find them. They're hard to see. See if I can find one that hasn't been struck by the wind. There's one that's not really folded up too bad. It is somewhat folded, but it's not like the other ones. Man, I was hoping to catch that on live to see, so you can see them how they fold up. Here's one. Here's a more mature one that's folded up really good. All of these, yeah, this is a nice patch of them. You can see how they're folded up, and I'm looking for leaves that aren't folded, and I'm not finding many. Almost all of them are folded up. But yeah, it takes about 30 seconds to a minute after you touch them, and they just start folding up because they're sensitive to touch. Here's one that's on its way to being folded up, or semi-folded. But I never even knew about that thing until this year. I decided, I'm like, I want to see what my yard's producing. This area here used to be, I used to let this be, like I would cut it, and this was kind of like a front side lawn area. And I just decided to let it grow, and now I've got all these oak trees, these young oak trees growing, and I like that. These are all like second or third year oaks, I think. And I probably got 150 of them in this area here throughout, which is kind of cool. And then I'm way overloaded with sassafras. All right, James, take it easy. That's a plant I do not like, and I don't like it on my property, black locust. It's a tree, and I got to get rid of those. Here's sassafras right here. Sassafras has a lot of benefits. So it's got 3 types of leaves. One, let me see here. I'll grab all 3 types here if I can find them. Oh, what happened? Oh, okay. So these are sassafras leaves. There's a young one. And so that's like a right hand mitten. And there's your left-handed mitten. Those are the 4 different types of leaves. So you have one that has like a lobe here, or 2 lobes, or 2 thumbs, if you will, like a mitten. And then one has a lobe on this side, and the other one has a lobe on this side, and then one doesn't have any lobes. The 4 different kinds of leaves of a sassafras, and to my knowledge, there's only one other tree that has that same characteristic in the leaves, and that would be the mulberry. There may be others. I have not heard of any. Yeah, but that's just what I know about. Anyway, it says there's 3 people in here. And so, yeah. There is an abundance of really cool plants and things that the Lord has made in the earth. Yeah, I am kind of bummed out about that. That all of the sensitives have been shaken by the wind, and they are folded up. I wanted to show you guys how they fold up. To me, it's kind of like a Venus flytrap. that you're able to watch a plant actually move. And I got a lot of little juniper trees. Here's a juniper, and it's got berries popping. And juniper berries are excellent source of vitamin C, and they make a really good tea. I gather those after the first frost. Look at all these berries. Lots of juniper berries. Yeah, I gotta go through and trim this tree more. This is a really beautiful tree. That's a juniper. And I got more junipers here. Junipers have they got a cedar. They are in the cedar family. And they're not really spiky as far as they're soft spikes. They got spikes, but they're soft. They don't hurt you. A little bit of an irritant. And this is it's either Solomon's seal or false Solomon's seal. I have both on my property. Oh. Yeah. Here's one I don't like. It actually, look at this thing. It's got a stalk and a branch, kind of like a stem, like a tree, but that's not a tree. Keeping it real life. What's going on, Charles? That is poison ivy. It is one of my nemesis. And it's like, you know, kind of tall up from the ground. That's a poison ivy plant, just growing straight up. I usually don't see them grow that tall unless they're growing along and climbing up a tree. Look, I got a little tailgater behind me. She's on the hunt. That's gotta have cats around to keep the mice down. Very, very effective. Got some cool plants around there. Yes, I do. I do. I am blessed. You know, when I live out, the soil that I have is sandy soil. It's not very rich in nutrients. This is an oak fern, and we get a lot of these. They're toxic. They're not edible, but they have some benefit. I just don't know what it is. This is dogbane. This is one of the very few things that is often mistaken for milkweed because it lactates, but dogbane has branches. Like you can see, there's branches off of it, and milkweed does not. But the leaves look similar to milkweed. I'll pull this leaf off and see if I can't find a milkweed. Oh, I'm sorry if the wind is strong. So they're similar. Dogbane leaves are usually smaller, but you can find milkweed plants that, you know, so see the leaves, they do look similar. The one on the right is a milkweed, and the one on the left is dogbane, which is pouring blood or leaking its poisonous toxins all over my thumb every time it hits it. So yeah, that stuff's got a lot of juice coming out of it. And milkweed, okay, so here we go. Here's the dogbane, and if you look at the veins that are clearly seen, you can see that there's actually all of these outer veins kind of come together and they make almost a border along the edge. That's milkweed, and these ones do not have that. They don't kind of enclose, the veins don't enclose upon themselves, you know. But the main characteristic is a milkweed never has branches. It's just one straight stalk all the way up to the top, and the dogbane branches off. Oh yeah, dude, I make sassafras tea frequently, or I have made it frequently. I don't do it anymore. I haven't made any in a while, but I have thousands of sassafras trees on my property. And I have less than 2 acres. I'm amazed. So here's the deer's favorite plant in my yard. This is a burning bush. And they love to come along and trim all of the, it's so bushy and thick because they keep trimming it. And this is kind of an interesting thing because throughout my woods, I've got several burning bushes that they don't even touch. So I know I got a bunch over there, but here, I mean, they go right by the other ones. That one must have some kind of flavoring to them that they like more than others. But where's the other? Yeah. Here's a burning bush. This isn't trimmed off like the other one. They don't nip all the ends. All these soft little ends, they don't bother with it. You know, that, yeah, that's actually a bunch of burning bushes. There's 1, 2, 3, it looks like 4 or 5 crowns. And okay, so here they did start to nip off. They are nipping off of this side, but they're not really hitting it like the one in the yard. I don't know, man. There's all that wood I was working on. That was the first pile I started splitting this year. That's uh-oh. Had a skeeter going for a little meal. They don't eat much. That was the second pile I made. And then that was the third pile I made. And we just kept getting trees from the, well, I kept getting the trees from the tornadoes. We got hit with that big tornado. That was devastating. Ooh. Oh man, I gotta watch my step through here. We got poison ivy. I gotta make a killer. I learned years ago that you gotta dig up the roots. I got plenty of deer coming through here. Got all kinds of deer. There's a fawn. Oh, yeah, I think I uploaded on my other channel. I got a fawn. I recorded a fawn yesterday. Oh. I had a raccoon that was here. And now all the leaves are disturbed and there's a little bit of hair. I don't know what the hell would eat that thing, but it was nasty. It sat for over a week before something finally took it, I guess. I left it out for the coyotes and, oh, there it is. I found it. It's been drugged. Yeah, had a section of the tree drop. I'll have to get out my saw next weekend, or if I get a day off this week and do that. It was the top of that one that broke off. Always got plenty of down sticks in the woods and branches from trees I cut to have lots of fires in my fire pit. Yeah, I got tons of these oak ferns. I didn't finish splitting that pile of wood here last winter. I don't have a lot of wood left to split, just that little pile here. Out a little bit. Probably About 40 minutes worth of splitting between that and then these other logs here. And of course I got that pile and I got that pile. I got lots of wood here. And here is the yarrow. This stuff right here is real good for wounds. It looks like a fern and it's super, super delicate and soft. You can chew that up, make a poultice, and it's astringent. It's a good healer of wounds. Plantain is a little better, but you know, it's got its benefits. And this is actually, I keep wanting to harvest this stuff and dry it out and make an infusion into alcohol so that I can water it down with, you know, or thicken it up with oil and make myself a bug spray, because yarrow is very effective at getting rid of or repelling mosquitoes, ticks, chiggers, any kind of biting insects. They're repelled by this plant right here. That's good. I have a burning bush I planted about 3 or 4 years ago. I just wanted one in my yard because of the red fall color. Yeah, they're beautiful, man. They are beautiful. I saw that burning bush in one of your videos, at least one, maybe a couple of them now that I think about it. And I got so many grapevines. Grapevines are going crazy, but they don't produce grapes down here. They just produce leaves and vines everywhere. And this is horseweed. Deers love that stuff. And oh, let's see. That's not stinging nettle, is it? No, I think that's called dead nettle. Here's something that looks similar to horseweed, but it's actually goldenrod, and this stuff is used traditionally for allergies, and it's a good anti-inflammatory. Goldenrod is a good plant. So I have, let's see, a power line, a telephone. Let me see if I can zoom in. There's the utility pole right there, and then there's lines that cross over. Let's see if we can go. So there's a pole, and the lines go straight across here all the way down. I get a call from a neighbor one day that said my power company wanted to come in my yard because the tree guys dropped, it looks like 3 trees onto that power line. So there's a bunch of, they just dropped the trees. They left everything there. I'm going to go through and cut it up for my neighbor and drag all that stuff out. But I'll give you an idea. Here's the power line. See, you can see the power line right there, right? There's the power line. Okay. There's the treetop. That dude literally dropped it, slapped it right onto the power line. And it was coming from over there. He just knocked I was like, when I looked at his stumps, I'm like, man, this guy did not know what he was doing. Yeah, just dropped them right onto the power lines. I got a lot of wood to cut. There's wood there, there's stumps there, there's stumps over there, trees. I think they cut like 7 or 8 of them. But then zoom in and look. If anyone knows anything about tree cutting, there's no face cut, there's no back cut, there's no hinge. It's just one straight cut at an angle through. That is not what a professional tree faller does. Like, never. That's like a big no-no, because when you're dropping trees, you want to be able to control the direction of the fall. If you're making one straight cut, you have no control over the direction. It's gonna go whichever direction all the wood of the tree is leaning. which is what happened. And he knocked out my power. I was kind of pissed. Um, because I had to have NIPSCO come through when I was not home. And I had to try to give my neighbor directions on where to find my septic so that they didn't run over with that lift truck, the boom truck. They can't run over my septic, And so they were quick though. They were in and out of my yard in about 30 minutes. Quicker than I could get back down here. Oh, they were dead. Yeah, my neighbor that lived there before, the new one that lives there now, he's not responsible. The one that lived there before, he paid a guy to push up dirt to make this huge berm that he wanted for privacy, which is cool, but he didn't cut down the trees or knock them down that were there. And I warned him. For some reason, him and the excavator guy, who's not all there, thought that, it would be like a tomato plant or a potato plant where it will grow roots out if you bury the stump or bury part of the base of the tree. And I said, dude, those are oak trees. They're going to die. I warned him. The very day I saw that they were doing that, I warned him. That was probably 7 years ago. And they were like, oh, yeah, no, they'll live. They can handle a little bit of sand on them. I'm like, dude, it's going to kill them. Every single one of those oak trees died. And so then my neighbor, I tried to talk him into letting me come there. I was just going to do it for free. I was going to help him for free dropping those trees because I know what I'm doing. And I don't want the trees to land on the power lines. I don't want to be without power, And he said he would, and we talked about it, and then he got, had some health problems and he couldn't do it. I just needed somebody to drive the vehicle. I can chuck a rope over I can get a rope cinched up into a crotch of a tree and attached to the truck. And then he can just pull the tension on the truck to make sure that it goes that way. Because I think 3 of them were leaning toward the power lines. And I think those are the 3 that they dropped on the power lines. But I wanted to avoid that. Hey, baby, what do you want? What do you want, Skoomers? Hi, Puma. Hi, baby girl. Yeah. Oh, there's that GMC I just bought. Frickin' government. They screwed me over. I still don't... well, I just got the title, finally. And I'm just now realizing that there's a circle here. I didn't even notice this before. Impression from the... probably the county highways sticker. At least they took it off. But yeah, I mean, the rocker panels aren't real bad. They got some rust, but they're not real bad. Up here, we get a real bad rust. You guys don't even get it, the cab corners on this thing. It's a 2006 Sierra. It's got the hardtop, which I don't like. I got that on Craigslist trying to sell it. $50. I mean, these things are over $1,000 to buy them new, and it's not new, but it works. I just don't use those things. And this is my old 2003. They're pretty much the same vehicle, same engine, 5.3. This one has 400 and almost 400,000 miles on it, and this one's only got 79,000. Yeah, tires aren't too bad. They got some good tread left. They lied, the air conditioner ain't working on it. Yeah, you look at the front of that one, and it matches the front of that one because they're the same body style. And so I figure I'd just go ahead. Yeah, the sun hasn't done very well with the hood paint on this thing, but it ain't rusting yet. But I really do love the Sierras. They last a long time. There's my fire pit. Oh, here's another plant I just passed up. I didn't talk about mullein. This is a smaller one. They get to be 8-10 feet tall sometimes. It's a very soft, fuzzy leaf, and they get real big. The leaves get a lot bigger than this on some plants. And it's going to grow this a top stem area that's going to have yellow flowers. In fact, all around you've already got them growing yellow flowers. But that's the first year is down on the ground as a rosette. The second year grows a stalk. Don't cut a tree and land it on power lines. Yeah, dude, that's kind of like one of the first things that you learn. And as far as tree business goes, I mean, anyone can buy a chainsaw and start a business. And I think what happened is there were guys that were out cutting trees and woods and everything went well, and they're like, oh, we can do this for a living. You know, but it was obvious looking at all of the forensic evidences of their cuts, they didn't know what they were doing. They were not trained properly. It looks like they're fairly new to the business, which their insurance premiums are going to let them know that they need training. And I am one of these guys that when I see somebody doing something that I know is the wrong way, I will offer my help. I like to educate people. I like to see people do things right, and very few people will accept it. Some will, but some won't. And I was talking to a friend of mine the other day about that in truck driving. He's a truck driver. He's 37 years in driving behind the wheel of a big rig, over the road, regional. You know, he's done it all local. Currently works for Sherwin-Williams. But we were talking about that, how, you know, he sees new guys starting out and, you know, having trouble with backing in. That seems to be one of the biggest things that new guys have problems with, is reversing or backing in a truck. And he offers help, and more people are becoming so prideful and stubborn, like they don't want to learn. It's almost like they feel insulted if somebody wants to help them, because it's like, I can do it, I'm a man. It's like, dude, I'm not challenging your masculinity. I'm just trying to offer some help because you're doing it wrong. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the problem with mullein as a toilet paper plant is that what makes it soft are these little tiny hairs, and those little tiny hairs are actually irritants, especially in sensitive skin. And so you start ripening your sphincter with that. I filter all those hairs out through a fine mesh when I make tea, because they're an irritant to the throat. You know, the making tea out of it doesn't mitigate the irritation of them. Has my stream been pretty clear this whole time? I just realized I walked through the woods far away from the Wi-Fi, so I don't know if my stream was coming in. But I was on a job one time. It was one of my monthly jobs. It was a car dealership, and a guy came up to me, and he had a friend with him. The guy came up to me, he says, man, you're doing that all wrong. I've been cleaning windows for like 15 to 20 years at that time. So I offered him my squeegee and my applicator, and I said, show me how to do it. You know, I'm pretty well experienced, and I'm actually pretty skilled, but I'm not too shy to learn. If you have a better way, I'll learn. So I got my phone stopwatch out, And I said, okay, go ahead, show me. And I clicked the stopwatch and I watched him do the work. And when he was done, it was like, I forgot, 35 seconds or 40 seconds or something. And there were lines where he was doing this little snake technique, and there were lines from it, and there were stuff all over the edges, and the window just didn't look good. And I said, okay, now time me. And so I did it exactly how he had just seen me do it in less than half of the time, and there was no lines or streaks or smears or drips along the edges. I said, I appreciate you trying to help me, but from what I can see, my way appears to be quicker and give a better result, you know. And it was interesting. I wasn't being an ass to him. He was kind of being a prick to me, but I'm like, hey, I'll take it, whatever. I got tough skin. That doesn't bother me. But his buddy that was with him, unbeknownst to me, was a subcontractor for a custom home builder, and he saw the work I did, and he realized he's a contractor that does construction cleanups. And he saw the work I did, so he called me up. He wanted my number. He called me up and he says, hey, I got this job I need you to do. And it was for a huge 3-story custom home. And I got there and I did the job. It was a nasty job, mud and everything. It had just rained the day before, all around the construction site. And so I had to do all the outside work in the mud and all the inside work first, you know. And oh, my ladders, I had mud in every single place you get mud at. But the windows were spotless. And he went through and I ended up getting hooked up with the builder. The builder got rid of him because that guy wasn't doing the work he needed done, but he loved my work. And so I got probably close to $100,000 over the years from just that one contact. And it never would have happened if I would have gotten some kind of a pride ego against that guy would have told me, oh, you're doing it wrong. And that was kind of the point of it, you know. How we respond and react to situations has an effect that we don't even know down the road, you know. Oh, yeah, don't ask me how I know. Yeah. Well, if you go back to the beginning of the live stream, you'll see I actually have these huge plants of plantain that are bigger than my hand. They cover your whole hand, and they work much better for that. The invention of toilet paper was a really good thing. Prior to that, people used leaves, or what Bible actually refers to as filthy rags. They had dedicated rags for that. That's actually where we get the term on the rag, because they had dedicated rags for a woman's menstrual cycle. She would literally sit on a rag. She would be on the rag. Where the Bible says the righteousness of men or man is as filthy rags unto God. And so all of our good works and all of our idea of what is good and what is evil, what is right and what is wrong, that's what righteousness is like, poo-poo rags or menstrual rags. They're filthy rags. They're not anything that is, we can't come to God with like, oh, look how great I am. Look what I do. Look what, it's like, no. We have all we like sheep have gone astray. Corn cobs. Oh no, don't even go there, man. Yeah, that's funny. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day. I said, I'd love to play cornhole. And he says, I don't really like that name. And yeah, people call it bags, but it's actually called cornhole. That's the official. Like if you go and you look up the tournaments, they're cornhole tournaments. They're not bags. But it's a game I don't want to play. I think he said something like, yeah, I wonder if that game started in Sodom and Gomorrah. Cornhole. Yeah, I just wanted to do a little live stream and kind of go through some of the plants that I got. I did a whole bunch of harvesting of the raspberry leaves this year or today actually. These things heal up pretty good, man. Yeah, that was the raspberries. That's probably about 3 foot. I let it grow. I cut them between 3 and 4 foot. The first year plants. You know, they got that um, powdery substance on them, and when you wipe it away, it's green. And then, of course, the second year powdery substance, you wipe that away, and it's purple. Leaves are trying to get it. And then it's kind of like a dark purple color. And then, of course, these things. Last year, that's what I did. I started my live streaming when I was doing the black raspberry processing. This year, I really haven't processed them. I think I'm going to let a lot of these just dry out on the vine, and I'll pick them and make teas out of the black raspberries. I'll put them in the dehydrator again afterwards, but yeah, just make tea out of it. So this is the one that's good for toilet paper. Plantain. Plantago major. Let's see if I can find it. I guess that's one of the bigger leaves. That's a leaf there, and that's another leaf. Gotta watch those holes though. Might get something on your finger. Yeah, me too. Yeah, you know these plants. You see them in your yard all the time, I'm sure. I don't think you spray for weeds. If you spray your lawn for weeds, these things die first. They're kind of a gnarly looking plant. And they like to be where men walk and trod down. That's a smaller one. And they get bigger as they get closer to the house. But yeah, look at the size of that one. That's just a huge plant. My old shingles that were damaged, I had to replace them this last weekend. I actually did 2 patches yesterday and 2 last week. Yeah, but I guess that's probably about it. That's about it. I think I'm going to end the live stream here. But hey, thanks for tuning in. Catch you on the next one. Peace.